somebody who hasn't been paying attention to Tristan Jarry's work in the AHL, he's now played 3 games for Wilkes-Barre Scranton, and he's won all of them. He has a 1.95 goals against and a 936 save percentage. Also and related, Alex Nedeljkovic is the number 1 goaltender right here in Pittsburgh. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The Penguins are back on the ice today for a practice, and then they're heading up to Long Island to face the Islanders in Elmont, New York, as they'll be starting a 3-game trip that takes them also through Raleigh and Washington. Jarry is going to stay in Wilkes-Barre as part of the ongoing plan. So Nedeljkovic and Joel Blomqvist will continue to be the 2 goaltenders at the top level. And between those two, and I say this with huge respect for what Blomqvist's been able to do in the infancy of his NHL career, Ned's the guy. Ned is still the guy is probably the fairer phrasing on that, because Ned became the guy with a month to go in the 2023-24 season. He earned that. Earned the trust of his coaches, earned the trust of his teammates. When all concerned needed him the most, he was there. And he stood at his tallest. And to the credit of everybody, Kyle Dubas, Mike Sullivan, all involved, the Penguins did enter this training camp toward this season with an open mind, a legitimately open mind, not just one of those you're saying something but you're not actually believing it. They were going to let the best goaltender win. Dubas referred to it as an incredible opportunity for a goaltender, and that was his way of saying somebody step up and win this thing. So Ned got hurt early on, missed some games. That didn't help. Took Ned a little while to get back, and then within that to get back to top form. But for about the past 4 starts of his, I'd say, you've seen him in that form. He's now 2-2-1 with a 2.75 goals against and a 903 save percentage. And more significantly, given the state of the team at the moment, he has won the past 2 games. In fact, I think pretty much between him and Sidney Crosby, it's fair to say that those 2 guys have won those 2 games, but not really. They've all played pretty well. But they've been the 2 best players in those games. And Ned's kind of getting back into that groove. This is some of what he said Saturday night after the win over the Canadiens.
You know, it was different. You would have liked to have had a couple more preseason games. Obviously, I only played about maybe 2 periods, in the preseason. So I think, honestly, playing that first game at 2 o'clock in Winnipeg was great because I didn't have to sit there and think all day on it. You just showed up and tried to get the job done, and they kind of came out firing a couple quick shots and good looks right away. So it just kind of it was a nice one to make a few saves early, calm down, settle in, and after that, it's just been. I think it's been pretty good. Like I said last week, I thought I was playing fine. Wasn't making that extra save for the guys necessarily. And these last 2 games, I felt pretty much the same. Maybe made one more save for them, and they haven't really given up much, in terms of me having to, cover up some mistakes and whatnot. So it's been, I think, all around our game is in a pretty good spot right now.
I've had a couple of conversations with Ned myself in the past week, and what he's feeling more than anything else is just a fluidity to his game. He's not thinking, he's reacting. He's also feeding off what he feels is a more foundational level of play from the skaters in front of him. He feels like they're given everything they have to at least try to improve upon being the NHL's worst defensive team. That's my terminology, not his. And as such, it's motivating him too. And remember, with Ned, you're talking about somebody who's active, who's behind the net, who's playing the puck, but he's getting it done. And if you go back over his time that he's been in Pittsburgh, if you think about it, with very, very few exceptions, he's gotten it done. When the Penguins signed Ned, I shared an opinion on this program of his career to that stage, and I worried about this commitment immensely, meaning from the team's standpoint. I never really liked what I saw of his time with the Hurricanes, even when he was winning, even when he became their go-to guy. He seemed almost a little bit too spasmodic, working his way out of the crease for no reason, sliding too far. And I didn't see much of a change there when he went to Detroit, and the Red Wings apparently didn't disagree with that either, since they cut him loose, and the Red Wings are just constantly looking for a goaltender. So he comes here on Mike Vellucci's recommendation. He won a Calder Cup in Charlotte with Vellucci as head coach, and the rest has been, candidly here, really good. I don't see the signs that used to concern me, so I don't even know that I'd be changing my opinion as much as he's just gotten better and the opinion's adjusted accordingly. And I brought the excessive motion up with Ned the other night that he used to have, and he always kind of plays those things off. He doesn't want to get into too much technical stuff. I don't know of too many goaltenders who do, because then they're thinking about that stuff and then they take it on the ice, and he'd rather just react, as I'd mentioned. But he didn't exactly disagree with me either. He's made some saves this past week alone that I don't know that he would have made as soundly, as systematically as he did, especially the huge one late in the game against the Ducks. He's your guy. He's your guy. Everybody else can feel free to get better around him, including Jari, but he's your guy. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Chris in Columbus, who asks, "Hey DK, curious your take on this. Has the departure of Todd Reirden had an impact on how poorly the defensemen have performed, in particular the top three of Chris Letang, Erik Karlsson, Marcus Pettersson, considering how much their play has dropped off so much to start the year? I know Reirden was the scapegoat, maybe rightly so, for the power play, but he was also known to be the defensive whisperer, especially in the case of Letang." I'm on record, Chris, as having looked at Reirden's firing as being just as much about the inability to get the best out of Ryan Graves as it was about the power play. It was always going to be easier for everyone to explain that it was more about the power play, but Reirden did have that ability. Reirden did do things. It's not just Letang. Did it with guys who go a little bit further back, whether that's Ian Cole, Ben Lovejoy, Mike Matheson, did things that basically anchored them to certain positions on the ice from which they really weren't supposed to stray much, with the logic being that if you're on what Mike Sullivan refers to as the right side of the puck, meaning, keeping the puck to the outside, basically boxing out in the defensive zone, you're less likely to do damage defensively. You're at least somewhere in the middle of the rink. And I don't know about David Quinn's pedigree in coaching defensemen. I think that the lazy way to analyze it is to say that Quinn was San Jose's head coach whenever Karlsson won the Norris Trophy out there a couple of years ago. That doesn't mean anything. And Karlsson put up 101 points by basically flicking the puck to fourth liners in front of the net and fourth liners don't have anywhere else to be. They're going to bang him home. I'm not taking away anything from the Norris Trophy. I'm just saying I don't know that would have been coaching, or that would have represented that Karlsson was some defensive virtuoso all of a sudden. Karlsson just did what he does. He put up a ton of points. And as I've said forever about him, including before he got here, he's actually more capable of putting up points with pluggers in front of him than he is with stars in front of him. So what does or can Quinn offer to this group? I don't know. I believe it would be fair to give him more than a dozen games to evaluate that. I also believe it'd be fair to weigh that when you're talking about Letang and Karlsson, you're talking about a couple of guys who've been around and who wouldn't be easy to coach under any circumstance because, well, they've been doing it for such a long time and they're going to have more experience and more knowledge and more everything than any coach. They're also both a little bit stubborn-headed. But then, I can say this, but what you end up having to do anytime we're talking about these defensemen is to separate them because none of them have really much in common. The case of Pettersson is the one that's like way out there for me. And Marcus has looked better of late, and not just because the Penguins have faced lesser offensive opponents. And when he finds himself, it's at both ends. You don't see it at one and then it goes to the other. You'll see him just react fluidly from defense to offense. And I'm starting to see some of that with him now. It's encouraging. We'll see if it continues on this trip. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow about the whole Sid Gino thing.